Attention Kingdom Hospital medical staff. Attention. Could someone please retrieve Dr. Hook from Swedenborgian space for his interview? This concludes your announcements. Stay tuned for... Oh, you're here. That was fast.
This is Andrew McCarthy. You're listening to Derry Public Radio.
Welcome back to Derry Public Radio, a bi-weekly Stephen King book club podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Kahn, alongside CM Alexander.
Hello, everyone.
And today we are joined by Zoom, Dr. Hook himself, Mr. Andrew McCarthy. Andrew McCarthy, welcome to Derry Public Radio.
Thanks. Nice to be with you.
We want to go ahead and kick this off by asking our favorite question to ask people. First, what was your introduction to Stephen King's work?
That would have to be Carrie, I guess, yeah?
Did you read it when it first came out, or did you find it later on?
No, it was later. I think it was even after I saw the movie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and then I think I read it.
That was the first book we did on our show.
Was that his first book?
Yes, it is.
Anyhow, but my favorite of his books, which is not what you asked me, was his writing book, actually, his book on writing, which I think is great.
That is a good one. I have that.
I think it's great. And I mean, in that he talked about a story about how when he sold the paperback rights to Carrie and came home afterward and his wife said, "Did we get 30?" Meaning 1,000. He said, "No, we got 300. And the life has changed. I thought that's a beautiful story.
Do you have a favorite Stephen King moment from any of his books or movies? Just something that really stuck with you after seeing it?
You know, I have to say I love The Shining, even though I know he didn't like it very much. I thought that a lot of the visuals in The Shining just stay with me. I have to say that's my favorite one of adaptations of his, which I know he's not very pleased with.
Did you see the Dr. Sleep movie?
I did not.
Oh, they do a lot of recreating some of the initial shots from The Shining, incorporating into it, and it's really masterfully done.
Good. How is it?
It's amazing. It changes from the book a lot, but in really, really good ways.
Did you guys see the original Kingdom Hospital? The Dutch one? I guess it's Dutch, isn't it?
It is. No, we have not seen that yet.
I didn't either.
You didn't want it to spoil anything for you.
I did. Yeah, that was it. I don't think it was available way back when, you know? Things are so easy now, but I don't even think it was available to us.
Yeah, we have the 4-part series from the original. We just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. We wanted to finish Kingdom Hospital proper before checking out the original.
I hear it's very good.
Well, Kingdom Hospital's very good, so it makes sense.
Well, it didn't do very well at the time. I mean, I honestly don't even know if they aired all the episodes. I remember it started very well. It started really well, and then it just kept sliding in the ratings over and over, and I don't even know if they aired all the episodes. Do you?
I don't think they did. I read an article Stephen King posted about the fact that this show, he described it as a novelization of a series, and you have to ask the audience to invest so much time at the front for those big payoffs like you normally get with a novel. And that the DVD, he said the DVD would have the rest of the series because the rest of the series was shot. So yeah, I guess that means they didn't air it all.
Well, yeah, but that was also before serialization. You know, in the world of Netflix now, it would be a much different experience putting that all on now. But it would be much, much better than come out now.
Oh,
because we just watched TV like that back then, and you'd have to wait a week till the next episode and all that kind of thing.
It's something. It surprises me that Kingdom Hospital has not started streaming anywhere, that nobody's bought the rights to put it out there. All of our listeners who have come around to finding it have just gone and bought it on DVD and been excited watching it. And so many people have said to us, "I can't believe this isn't streaming." I imagine it would be a real hit right now.
That's a good idea. Is Netflix listening? Yeah, I don't know.
We'll send this to them. Before we get into some Kingdom Hospital stuff, I just had a few questions for you. You have my dream career. You've done everything. And I think it's so impressive. It's so amazing. All the things you've done, all of your performances you've done in your career. What is something that you look back on the most?
They only ask you that question when you start to get really old. You know, I just am not the guy that looks back. I just don't. But I mean, I have to say, I love, in its own stupid way, I loved Weekend at Bernie's. And I loved a movie I did early on called Heaven Help Us. I thought it was a really lovely movie. I enjoyed playing the part in St. Elmo's Fire a lot. I thought I was well suited to that. I like that. And I liked on TV a number of years ago, I was on a show called Lipstick Jungle. I had a role that I liked a lot. There was a couple seasons of that show.
Do you find you have a lot of freedom because you have such an established career that you have the ability to just pick and choose so easily some of these roles or some things that you can look at and say, that'd be an insane amount of fun to do?
Well, I mean, I haven't been acting much in the last 10 years, really, at all. I've been directing a lot of television, and in my other life, I'm a travel writer. So I haven't been acting that much at all lately. Although I just recently did a little bit on a show I was directing on called Good Girls. And I did several episodes of that, and I'll come back again the next season whenever anybody starts making TV again. And do some more of that, because that was really fun. I play a hitman, which was fun. And it was nice to act again. I hadn't done it in so long that it was just like, oh yeah, I remember this.
Well, speaking of your traveling, I should ask you, how has quarantine been for you, being someone that travels such a huge part of your life?
Yeah, it's I think the same is for everybody. It's like, let me out. But hopefully it's changing now. But I'm in a beautiful spot. I'm in upstate New York by a lake and everything, so it's very pretty and all. But yeah, enough's enough, right?
Yeah. Do you have your first destination you want to get out to as soon as this quarantine is lifted?
Well, actually, I was just talking to my wife this morning about, I think it would be nice to take a drive across America and just see what's going on. I'd like to do that, maybe. I also wanted to walk. Years ago, I walked across Spain on the Camino de Santiago, and 25 years ago this summer. So I was planning to do that before all this happened, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to go this summer because they don't want us over there yet. Because especially us New Yorkers. So I don't know that I'll get to go to Spain and do that, but I would love to just take a drive. It's been a while since I've done it, and I would love to take another drive across America.
How long did it take you to walk across Spain?
About a month, 5 weeks. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was an amazing trip, life changer. The Camino de Santiago is fantastic. Yeah. I've recommended it to a number of my friends, and they've done it, and they've come back, and it's had a very life-altering experience. It's a great thing to do because, you just slow down, and all you're doing for the whole day is I'm walking to the next little village. I get there, tomorrow I'll walk again, and it's a fantastic experience. I recommend it.
You said something in one of your interviews that I watched that really struck me, because I don't travel very frequently because I'm afraid of travel. There's just something about it that makes me so anxious. And you've said that travel obliterates fear. So what do you think it is about traveling that helps people overcome that inherent fear?
Oh, but I agree with you. Most Americans are afraid to travel. They blame it on other things, but it's really fear. What's it, 40% of Americans have passports. Half of us have ever used them. And I think Americans are afraid of the world, afraid to travel. And I think a lot of the judgment we put on the world and assumptions we make about the world would just be obliterated. Like you said, the minute you go somewhere, because it puts you in a childlike position again of that wide-eyed wonder and sense of discovery and sense of innocence and a sense of needing help again. And having to ask for help, because a lot of us construct our lives so that we can avoid any kind of uncomfortable situations or fearful situations, and it's extraordinarily limiting. And we say it's other things, but often it's really just fear. So we take our comfort, and then we don't do things to take us out of that comfort zone. And being comfortable is fine. I'm all for it, and I go to great lengths to make myself that way. But I do think getting out of our comfort zone is growth. Mark Twain had that famous line, travel's fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And I think there's a lot of that in America, as we're seeing right now. And travel just changes that. The minute you have to go somewhere, can you help me? The minute you say that, so excuse me, hi, do you speak English? Can you help me? You're brought down to being right-sized again. And all that sort of defensive arrogance and puffed up kind of way we try and live just goes out the window. And I've never been anywhere in the world where they've said no to me, except New York. I live in New York. That's not true. And so I just find it an extraordinary, and I defy anybody to go travel abroad and come back not sort of changed by it, particularly if you travel alone. I think traveling alone is a hugely valuable thing. And it's not always fun. It's not a vacation. I'm not talking about a vacation. I'm not talking about laying out on the beach. There's a very big difference between vacationing and traveling. Traveling, going to a new place and a different culture, again, where there's no Starbucks, and, experiencing the way different people live and realizing we all are who we are underneath. I just think that's huge and a great gift to give ourselves and our children. And I think the arrogance of sort of not being interested in that is pure fear, and which is fine, but let's call it what it is and admit what it is,
Yeah, that's why I'm definitely not afraid to admit that I'm afraid of traveling.
But just go. You just go somewhere easy. You must be curious about somewhere, and just go, and you can come home. You know what I mean? Nobody's asking you to do shit. You're there for a couple of days. You go, you know what? I'm going home. Okay, I just paid my penalty on my airline ticket. I'm going home. You know what I mean? You can go home, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I never considered that. That's a really good point.
It's just like, this didn't work out. I'm going home.
In addition to your travel writing, you wrote a fiction novel, a YA novel that I bought and devoured in 2 days. I absolutely loved it.
Dude, you're not the audience for it, but thank you. It's about maybe you identified like I did with the central character who's a 15-year-old girl, and your inner 15-year-old girl was talking.
Right. You talked about that you tried writing that for so long, and once you shifted to Lucy's perspective, that 15-year-old girl, that it all just kind of clicked.
I wrote it for a number of years, and then I couldn't crack it, sort of. And then she was my favorite character, and it was a very small part in the book. And then once I changed it to her point of view and made it about her, it became a YA novel, and then it just sort of flowed. But that's the process. That's a sort of creative process. It's just you wouldn't have never started there, but you go this idea and then that idea and then that idea, at least that idea and at least that. No, and there it is. You know what I mean? And that's just process and coming to know and be comfortable in process, which it took me years to do. I always just wanted, this is my idea, this is what I'm doing. And it's like, well, if it doesn't work. But now I realize none of my ideas, where they start is where the best realization of them. They all need to go through process. And sometimes that takes a while.
Something that I really enjoyed about it was that every adult in Lucy's life has some sort of secret that they're hiding from their children. And learning them, she starts to see these people as adults in her life more than they're real people, not just her parents or her grandparents. Do you remember when you found out that your parents were people?
I don't. I'm still waiting for that point. But I do think it is a big moment when you realize that your when you realize your parents have a life outside of you and a very, bigger than a life before you. And because but it's perfectly natural. We see them as an extension and we're, orbiting around us, but it's just, and it's a real step of maturity and growth and toward adulthood when you realize that.
Have you thought about, with all of your acting and directing experience, making an adaptation, a film adaptation of Just Fly Away?
I thought about it for a moment. I thought it would actually be a better sort of TV, mini short part TV thing. And someone, I think, optioned it. But I sort of felt like I was done with it. And if someone, and doing that, getting something up off the ground from zero you have to really be passionate about it again. And I lived with that story for a long time. And so I kind of feel like I'm done. But if somebody else wants to do it, these people, if they get it off the ground, God bless them.
Would you show up on it if they made it for TV? Would you be in it?
Sure. I'll be the school principal or something.
There you go. Yeah. With everything you've done in your career, how does someone like you measure success in each of these areas? Because they're all so different. I know they all kind of come back to the same central theme of telling a story and connecting, but the success is so different in each of them.
I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know. I don't generally measure success because you always can be, I measure success more in like my life. Like if my kids when they're all grown up and they want to turn around and have a relationship with me in an active way, then I would sort of consider my life a success, But professionally, I just sort of keep working and don't think about success.
What experiences do you attribute to making those moves from acting to directing to writing?
They're all the same thing, really, to me. Parts of me that there were things of interest. And being an actor is not a very practical thing. You don't, and it was just something that I had a passion for and I just followed that. And the same with that was a natural evolution into directing because I grew interested in more of the whole thing as opposed to just my perspective on it, which then that's what writing is also. And travel writing just evolved naturally out of the traveling, which is something I was passionate about. So I've all my stuff's sort of the same, and then it's all just sort of passions that I followed that are totally impractical. And then you just figure out, I was lucky enough to have them become my day job, but they were all based in just sort of pure passions and things that make me excited. I couldn't do a job, like a regular job. I don't know how people do it. I have great respect for it, but I just do sort of. And when I've directed shows and things that I haven't believed in or haven't liked, it's been a real grind. Just banging out a job, I find that rough. I feel very lucky in that all my sort of jobs are passions as well. And I'm not good at it. If I'm just doing a job to do a job, I'm not very good at it. But if things are passions of mine, then they tend to turn out better.
I think that's a great rule of thumb. That passion drives the best quality.
And I'm lucky in that I get to follow that and do that. But I never actually considered any other option. I don't have any other skills, So I don't, and I never did. And so I didn't have another, sometimes it's best when you don't have another option.
All right, well, let's get to the reason we reached out to you, which I can't believe that it worked when I reached out to you to talk to you about Kingdom Hospital. But we here at Derry Public Radio have been recording these episodes in isolation, and we figured what better thing to do than dive into a 15-hour movie split up as a TV series. And that's where we met Dr. Hook.
And Dr. Hook was immediately one of our favorite characters. And I'm curious how you came to be Dr. Hook.
I don't know. I certainly didn't read the whole thing. I don't think it was available. We read a thing or two of it. And I went and I auditioned for it in New York. And then they were very interested in me doing it. And then it kind of went away for a while. I went on vacation in Montana. During that, I made a call, during the middle of the vacation, I made a call. And they said, yeah, they're going to hire this other person. I was like, wait, that's my part. And so they said, well, they met some, and I met them very, very early in the process. So, and often sometimes coming in very late in the process is the thing. You walk in the room, and you're like, finally, when you meet somebody early, you're always kind of going, yeah, okay, let's see some more people. Yeah, let's see, it's just sort of human nature. There must be something better out there. That can't be it. And so they found somebody, we're going to hire this other guy. And I said, no, I got it. And they go, well, they're doing one more day up in Vancouver where they're doing, more local parts because that's where we're going to film. So they're meeting some of the more local parts. So if you want to go back and again, you can get yourself up to Vancouver like tomorrow. So I left my vacation and went up to Vancouver and had no appointment to go into the thing. I just went to where they were auditioning, waited in the room, and they said, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm here to be Dr. Hook. And okay. And I went in and did it. And then there it was. And then that was that. So it was one of the first and only times I really sort of went after something like that. So when I first did it, I said, yeah, that's my job. So that's what happened there.
That's amazing. What part of that role drew you to fight so hard for it?
I have no idea. I just think he was an odd guy in an odd place, very much sort of lived in his own, little isolation. And there's something about that appealed to me. And he had his heart was in the right place, and I just thought he was an interesting guy. I hadn't seen anybody like him before.
He's definitely struck us in a lot of ways. He's been very charming and very vulnerable too, and that's really cool. So Kingdom Hospital we've read that it was shot like a movie. With so many things being out of order, doing it that way, did you ever have a hard time keeping up with Dr. Hook and keeping your place with him?
Yeah, we did shoot it. Normally, even when you shoot a series that is now serialized like that, you're doing one at a time or two, and it's a block of two often. But yeah, it was like a 160-day shoot, and we were doing, things from episode 1 with episode 10, and it was just sort of like, where are we? What's happening? Yeah, I mean, you did. Sometimes you had trouble keeping track of it, and you'd spend a good 10 minutes right before you go, okay, so this happened. I know this. This already happened between us. Oh, we haven't kissed yet? Oh, okay. So and all that kind of thing. That scene we filmed 4 months ago, that was right before this, right? Okay. Getting back literally to just where am I? Where am I coming from? Where am I going?
Did that lead to any fun moments or stories that you remember from that time?
I'm sure it did. No, I think there was I literally the thing about kissing him. There's a scene where I kissed one other doctor, right? The blonde woman whose name I haven't seen the show in so long. And right, don't I do that?
Yeah,
Dr. Draper.
Yeah, and but that was like we did a scene that took place after that I was acting as if we done it before that, and then we just sort of go. She's like, "Why are you being so cold to me?" And I'm like, "Well, because we're like this. We just made out." And I'm like, "Oh, right, okay. Can we do another take, please?"
It's with a cast of so many strong actors to play against: Bruce Davison, Diane Ladd, and Ed Begley Jr. Who was the most fun to perform with?
Well, the most interesting, I hate to say this, with the humans was all the CGI and the artificial kind of stuff. When you're acting with or watching go by these there's that anteater or whatever the hell that thing was, and there's a big whole scene in an elevator shaft where I was down an elevator, and we just surrounded me in this giant green screen stage, and I hadn't done much green screen work before, so all that was really fascinating and the real education. I really enjoyed that aspect of it a lot.
Did you watch Kingdom Hospital when it started coming out?
No, I watched it when it was on TV, and then I remember, I vaguely remember, like, wait, I don't think I've never seen the whole thing because it came out and it got canceled somewhere down the line of it, and I never saw the end. The last couple, 3, I don't remember how many episodes they did in there, so I've never seen the whole thing.
I recommend picking up the DVD. It's great.
I honestly think it's probably, how many hours is it? 13?
15.
15? 50? I'd say you could have cut 20% out of that. I do. I think that was one of the issues with it. It was just it could have been streamlined a little, but who am I to say?
We really enjoyed all of the scenes with you and Dr. Stegman and Jesse James. And you all do something in the series that we've talked a lot about on our show, and that is the Kingdom Finger. Do you remember that? What that's referring to?
No. I don't.
It's the secret gesture of the keepers where you put your thumb in your mouth and put your pinky out.
That was so stupid. And then you sort of blow up your fingers like a balloon. Yeah, I always thought, like, do we have to do this? This is really dumb. This is like, I always thought that was really dumb. Block it out.
I love that you said that just now because I'm not a big fan of gestures like that, and I had a really hard time with it. And so I've been made fun of on our show a lot because I'm like, they do the gesture again.
No, I agree with you. I agree.
I win, Josh. Andrew McCarthy agrees with me.
Andrew McCarthy agrees.
Another thing that we found really interesting and intriguing about Dr. Hook is that his apartments were in the basement of the Old Kingdom Hospital. Do you know why, or did you have a reason why for your character that he lived there?
It's his whole world, and his whole world was what he did. And so people are just weird, and they have peculiarities. And I never really asked why, because that's where else would he be? Could he have a home out somewhere else and come to work? And that was his whole sort of universe, was that place. So I think when I discovered, I think that was like episode 5 for some reason, I remember that, and called Hook's Kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and anyway, so when I finally got that script and read that one, I go, oh, good, that makes sense. Because I couldn't imagine a guy going home to his suburban house and whatever, or whatever. So that seemed like it just made sense to me. I never even really kind of had an issue with it, and it made me that's the character that I would assume him to be. So it made me know I was sort of on the right track.
Do you remember what your first impression of when you either saw or read about, Hook's Kingdom, the little graveyard that he has set aside in his room that keeps track of all of the malpractices or mistakes that have happened in the hospital?
Right, the graveyard. Another thing I forgot about. There's I thought that was, in all honesty, because, right, who cares, 15 years ago. I didn't know more, 17 when we filmed it, because my son was a year old and he's 18 now. Yeah, it was about 17 years ago we filmed. I thought things like that were a bit obvious and not as subtle as it might be, although subtle is a funny word with Stephen King. No, but you know what I mean? It can be some terribly subtle in things, and then other times things are so immediate in that way. But I liked what it said about him mostly. He was a guy with a lot of baggage, and he really probably couldn't function out in the real world. Another reason he was probably down in the basement, and so it was just a view into his psyche. So I'm like, whoa, he's taking all this to heart. It's not just going through the motions here, so I liked it. I wasn't crazy about the manifestation, but I liked what it said about who he was, how much baggage he had.
You definitely added subtlety to that scene with the way that you and Draper played it and played against each other. That was a scene that we were really fascinated with and thought was really cool. And there are so many moments in that show where things are more overt or they're more subtle, and sometimes they get kind of off the walls crazy and you don't expect it. And there are a lot of terrifying and really cool horror moments. One of
the things is the tone of the show, I think, was one of the issues, in that sometimes it was kind of funny, sometimes it was scary, and then maybe it wasn't. Then people thought it wasn't as scary as it should be, and then sort of what was it? So I think it had some tone issues that led to problems with it, led to some of the confusion on how to receive it. Although now shows are more, I used to direct on the show Orange is the New Black when that was on. And that was one of the shows where, change of tone was really welcome. It would be really sad and then really comedic. And to go back to your point earlier, maybe they should stream this show because it might be a lot more effective now. But I think at the time that was one of the issues. People were like, wait, is this, what's the tone?
With that being the case, when this was originally filmed, did you have any difficulty keeping Dr. Hook grounded in the middle?
No, I mean, my guy was I think Hook was pretty much solid straight. He's pretty reality based as far as given the reality of the show. Mm-hmm. I think what his function was was a through line of sort of stability and rationality and sort of the audience's conduit to enter into it. And then crazy stuff that goes on can be seen from that sort of central perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. We enjoy this show so much. We would love a season 2. Did you guys ever discuss having a season 2? Do you remember like what plot points might have been?
I mean, there was no original. I mean, you always talk on TV shows about a season 2 and season 6, and when you're filming first one, there was never any official one. But yeah, of course, there's always the excitement when you're doing something that, like, oh my God, yeah, and then you have to believe that too, where this could go. What was difficult was though the show started to air while we were still filming. The show, after the first couple episodes, really started to decline in ratings. And so we had to keep shooting even after we knew the show was not going to be successful. You know what I mean? I think we were probably 6 or 7 episodes were on the air by the time we finished shooting. And by then we sort of the die was cast. And so that was difficult. I remember the last month or so was like, wow, this is just like very Stephen King-y kind of shooting over a corpse here, So that was not, I forgot about that. That was not a great time. Just because, it was a real lesson in professionalism. It's like, this show's over. This show's going to be dead. And we have to finish. And because we knew we would have a life in DVD and whatever after. But that was challenging at the time. I've never been involved in a project like that, where that happened.
And we're so glad you guys did finish it, because now we get to go through this and see the whole story and do that for our show. And our listeners get to join in on that journey.
It feels like a cult classic to us, which we love all those types of movies and shows. They may not do well at the start, but then they gain this huge following of people who love all the quirkiness of it that audiences may not have been able to appreciate initially. We're also curious, with COVID sort of putting a halt to all of these creative outlets, what effect do you think this will have more long-term on the entertainment industry?
That's impossible to say. What's the challenge immediately is, how do we practically, physically go to work? Because when you're making a TV show or movie or on a set, you're in each other's spaces and in each other's faces, and actors can't have masks on and things. So they're still trying to figure out, how do we actually physically go to work? But long-term effect, once we come out of it, in my personal opinion, once we come out of this into the other end, do we ever learn much?
Yeah, that's true.
Do we ever? I don't know. Did we learn, the lessons we learned from September 11th? I think, that was an opportunity. And, that's the other thing people sort of compare this to, this life cataclysmic changing event. And, I don't think the lessons we took away from that were very positive. I don't think we did a positive job. There was such an opportunity to rewrite the way we saw the world. We just reacted with fear and aggression. It's just creating, let's create enemies more. And we did that very well. Here, it's turned into such a political charged issue that seems to have nothing to do with what's really going on. And it is not a political issue, and that it's become one entirely is, I don't think we'll learn a damn thing, frankly. I think people try and earn money as fast as they can because they've been shut out for so long. So that's my cynical point of view on it. But will it lead to different storytelling? I hope we don't, a year from now, see a bunch of pandemic movies. No, I hope not. But I don't, I think people are just in the show business trying to learn how to practically, how do we go about making a show now under new guidelines? And I think those guidelines will fade. But I think at the beginning, people will be worried about getting sued. Yes, they want to keep people safe, but really they just don't want to get lawsuits and things. So we'll have to see.
What things are you focusing on and interested in right now?
Well, I was in the middle of directing some TV shows right when it happened. So I'll go back and finish that. I was working on a show called The Blacklist, and on the show I was mentioning Good Girls. So I'll go back and do more episodes of them. Also just written a memoir of my 80s Brat Pack days, which will just finish that. And so that will be coming out early next year. So that's, I've spent some good chunk of time writing that.
That's outstanding. I actually was meaning to ask you, I know you've said before that you found the label of Brat Pack as pejorative, but looking back on there, how does that feel now versus then?
Well, I mean, at the time it was very pejorative, and it was cast in aspersion. It was as very condemning. I read the article that it was based on, the New Yorker article, which I hadn't read in, when I was writing this book. I hadn't read it since it came out in 1985. I mean, before you were born. So. And it was a horrible, scathing article. And I wasn't even in the article. I was one of the people they were trashing. It was an article about Emilio Estevez, and he took a reporter out drinking with him and Judd Nelson and Rob Lowe. And, he didn't like the way these kids were behaving. They were behaving stupidly and arrogantly and foolishly and drunkenly, and that's just, why would you bring a reporter into that? And so it was the whole Brat Pack thing was a staged event for this reporter. So it all became, but it's such a good phrase and and it captured something. But so at the beginning, it was really a nasty thing. And I think, labeling anything means you make no further attempt to understand it, and you put it in a box, and no actor wants that. No person wants that. happened. Not many of us would like to be put in a box of what we were doing when we were 21, 22 and have that's who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Done. You're done. So it took me a long time to get myself out of the box. And once I got myself out of the box, it didn't matter if other people were trying to put me in one, because that I wasn't. So I didn't mean anything to me. Then I was free of it. You know what I mean? You only care about that stuff when you kind of agree with it. If somebody says something about you that is stupid, you kind of go, that's stupid. But if they say something that's a vein of truth in it, it can really bother you and it can make you angry and aggressive, But over the years, I think the term has come to be such an iconic and affectionate one for a moment of youth recalled through rose-colored glasses, and it's that moment of youth for a generation of when the whole world is in front of you and opportunity. Your life is a blank page in front of you, and there's nothing more thrilling than that moment in life. My son has just graduated high school, and he is it's so sweet. His whole life is just starting, and it's very exciting and wondrous, and life is wondrous. And that goes back to travel, which is why it's one of the few things, no matter what age we get, we can still have that wondrous feeling again. When you turn the corner and look at something, you see the pyramid, and you go, oh my God, look at that. And that's a wondrous feeling. And that's fantastic. So that's why one of the things I love about travel. But I think the Brat Pack label, like I say, now represents something to a generation that is viewed so affectionately. It's like a fine wine. It aged well.
It's really nice to be able to look back and have that perspective. And I'm curious, do you have any...
Well, I didn't have that perspective particularly until I was, didn't think about it much. The only time I ever thought about it was when people would ask me about it. And then I would just say, yeah, it was just a pejorative term or whatever, and I would try and get on with my life. But I didn't really look at it in full context from sort of A to Z to where it is now, until I was writing this book, when I really had to think about it. And, it's one of the reasons you write these things, is to sort of, Joan Didion has that line, I write to find out what I'm thinking. And, I really discovered a lot of, and those movies mean so much to people of a generation, and they mention them to me almost every day. And I always used to kind of go, yeah, thank you. That's nice. Thing. But now I realize it really touched them. And then what they need to do is share their appreciation or gratitude or what it meant to them. And that makes them feel good, and that's a great gift that I was able to be a part of giving. Yeah, I'm all for it at this point.
Do you have any advice for people who may still be stuck in that maybe fearful or negative place about things that they've tried and haven't gone the way they want, and they're still out there searching for that thing that'll make them feel like themselves from the toes up?
I try not to have advice for anyone. No, truly. I try not to have this advice, because advice doesn't mean much. People don't learn by being told things. They learn by seeing things and witnessing things and experiencing them. All I ever want to is keep the faith, It's so easy to get down and discouraged and feel defeated by stuff. And there's more than one way up the mountain. My mother likes to say, if I had any ability or gift, it was that I could see, I thought I wanted something, and then what I really wanted appeared, I was able to recognize it. When I was younger, if you told me I was going to be a travel writer, I just would have been, you're talking about somebody else, I wouldn't, or if I was going to write books, I'd say, no, that doesn't, going back to acting is very much sort of like a fish in the water, kind of going, what water? I'm just so used to it and such a part of me. But all the other things I've done have all been taking me by surprise. But I was able to sort of recognize it when it happened. I was like, well, wait, what's that feeling? I'm rambling, but I just think that notion of your own inner guidance, you don't listen to anybody. Like I try and have my son listen to me, but really I don't want him to listen to me. Go find your own way. I'm right here. If you turn around, I'll be right behind you. But we shouldn't listen to people, especially when we're young. Shouldn't listen to anybody. If I'd listened to people, I never would have done any of the things that I've done in my life. You have to, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. Okay. God bless you, dude. Don't get hurt. Don't hurt anybody. And I'll be right here when you come back. I think that's just the way I see things,
Oh, that's great. Not advice.
See, at the end, I'll tell you what to do. Hang around. I'll go, no, I won't tell you everything. Ask my wife.
Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. Thank you so much for all of the gifts you've given us in performing in Kingdom Hospital and all of the other entertainment you've given us. We want to thank you one more time for joining us.
Oh, it's been fun. Thanks for having me. Thanks for reaching out.
Hey everyone, Sam Alexander here. Thank you for listening to this very special bonus episode. Josh and I had an amazing time talking to Andrew, and we hope you all enjoyed listening. Before we wrapped our interview, I, with great shame, asked Andrew to do the gesture with us. Obviously, this is a visual thing, so we'll post a screenshot on our social media, but I've also included the sound clip from that at the end of this outro because his response was pretty funny. Check out Andrew McCarthy's work on his website, andrewmccarthy.com. That's all for now, listeners. Goodbye. And I was wondering if I could ask, even though I hate this, if you would be willing to do the gesture with us.
Oh, no, I can't do that. No. You wouldn't want to do that to yourself either.
I don't. Josh is making me. No, that's...
All right, I'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. We've enjoyed talking to you.